If you've noticed a sudden surge of people harvesting and eating the yellow weeds from their lawns lately, it isn't just a modern internet trend. It is the revival of a deeply rooted American tradition that modern lawn care nearly wiped out. Because there is a plant growing in your yard right now that you have been trying to kill for the last 40 years, and that your great-grandmother would have considered one of the most valuable plants on the entire property. Dandelion, the single most despised lawn weed in modern American gardening. The plant that drives homeowners to spend hundreds of dollars per year on chemical herbicides and special weed-pulling tools designed specifically to eliminate it. The bright yellow flower that the entire lawn care industry has trained 2 generations of Americans to view as a personal failure when it appears in the front yard. And the entire time we have been trying to eradicate dandelions from American lawns, the plant has remained one of the most valuable foraged foods and traditional medicines available to anyone who happens to have a few growing in untreated grass. This video is about that contradiction. We are going to look at 11 specific things every American gardener should know about the dandelion growing in her yard right now, 7 traditional ways to use every single part of the plant, and 4 crucial rules for identifying and harvesting it safely. All of them were practiced for generations by women in this country before commercial herbicides existed, and almost all of them have been largely forgotten by the gardening culture of the last 60 years. Some of these points are the specific identification markers that distinguish a true dandelion from the look-alike plants that grow alongside them. A few of them are the traditional culinary preparations that have used every single part of the dandelion plant, flower, leaf, and root, in American kitchens for over 200 years. And 2 of them are uses that will genuinely surprise you because they have been almost completely lost from modern American household knowledge. One of them is the traditional recipe that turned dandelion flowers into homemade wine in Southern and Midwestern kitchens for over 100 years, with the full original recipe so you can make a gallon yourself this spring. The other is the traditional folk medicine use that almost every grandmother in this country once knew about, and that modern research is only now beginning to investigate seriously. I am going to walk you through all 11, exactly how to identify the plant correctly, exactly how to use each part of it in the kitchen, exactly when and where to harvest safely, and exactly what to avoid. Foraging carries real risks, and I am going to give you the honest safety information that most internet foraging videos skip entirely, including the specific look-alike plants that get harvested by mistake every spring across America, and the specific places where you must never gather dandelions regardless of how good they look. Some of the information you have probably heard about dandelions is exaggerated or wrong, and I am going to tell you which parts so you can make accurate decisions for your own household. The order matters. The 2 genuine surprises come later. Stay with me through all 11, because what your grandmother knew about this plant is more useful than what most modern gardening videos are willing to tell you. Before I show you the first one, I want to mention something briefly. Many of you have been writing about the gardening guide I have been hinting at these past months, The Plant Wants Garden. It is a complete reference for women like you, gathering everything this channel teaches into one guide you can lean on through every season for the rest of your gardening life. I am taking my time to get it right. The guide is genuinely coming. When it is ready, you will be the first to know. Now back to the garden. Let's start with identification. Before you eat a single dandelion from your yard, you must be able to identify the plant with complete certainty. There are at least 3 common American lawn plants that get harvested by mistake every spring by inexperienced foragers. Cat's ear, false dandelion, and hawkweed all produce yellow flowers in lawns, and all look superficially similar to dandelions at first glance. None of them are deadly poisonous, but 2 of them are bitter enough to ruin a beginner's introduction to dandelion foraging, and cat's ear has been documented to cause health problems in horses that consume it regularly. Correct identification is the foundation that everything else in this video depends on. 5 specific markers distinguish a true dandelion from every look-alike. 1. The bloom. A single bright yellow flower head at the top of a single stem. Dandelions never branch. One stem produces exactly 1 flower. If you see a yellow flower with multiple blooms branching from a single stem, it is not a dandelion. 2. The stem. Break it between your fingers. A true dandelion stem is completely hollow inside. You will see a clear, tube-shaped opening through the broken stem. Furthermore, the stem is completely smooth and hairless. Lookalikes like cat's ear often have solid, fibrous, or slightly hairy stems that branch out. 3. The sap. The moment you break that smooth, hollow stem, a distinctive milky white fluid emerges from the cut edges. This is the dandelion's natural latex sap. Combined with a completely unbranched, hairless, hollow stem and a single flower, the white sap confirms the identification. 4. The leaves. True dandelion leaves grow in a low rosette directly from a single central point at ground level. The leaves are deeply jagged and toothed along the edges, with sharp, pointed lobes that gave the plant its name, dent de lion in French, meaning tooth of the lion. The leaves themselves never grow on tall, branching stems. 5. The root. Dig down at the base of the plant and you will find a deep vertical taproot driving straight down into the soil, 12 to 18 inches below the surface. This deep taproot is part of what makes dandelion so notoriously difficult to eliminate from lawns. Combined with the other 4 markers, the deep taproot completes the certain identification. Now that we can identify it with absolute certainty, let's look at the 7 traditional kitchen uses for the flower, the leaf, and the root. Use 1. Dandelion flower tea. The simplest and most accessible use of dandelions for any beginner, and the use that introduces most people to the plant's surprising sweetness for the first time. The yellow flower petals contain natural sugars and a subtle floral, honey-like flavor that most modern Americans never experience because nobody has told them the flowers are edible. Harvest the flowers in the late morning after the dew has dried, but before the afternoon heat. Choose flowers that are fully open and bright yellow. Flowers that have already started to close or fade have lost most of their flavor. Pinch the flower head off at the base of the petals, leaving the green sepals behind on the stem. The green parts of the flower are bitter, while the yellow petals are sweet. For tea, you can use the whole flower head including the green base, but for the sweetest result, separate the yellow petals from the green sepals before steeping. To make dandelion tea, place a generous handful of fresh flower heads, about 10 to 15 full flowers, in a teapot or large mug. Pour boiling water over the flowers and let them steep for 4 to 5 minutes. The water will turn a beautiful golden yellow color and develop a delicate honey-like flavor. Strain out the flowers, add honey or sugar to taste if desired, and drink warm. The taste is genuinely surprising the first time you try it. Most first-time drinkers expect a bitter, weedy flavor and discover instead a light floral sweetness reminiscent of mild chamomile or honeyed lemon. Cost reality. Commercial dandelion tea at a specialty health store runs about $8 to $15 for a small box of 20 tea bags. The same quantity made from your own yard costs nothing and tastes fresher than the dried commercial version. Use 2. Fresh flower petals in salads and baking. The bright yellow flower petals can be eaten directly off the plant for a lightly sweet floral flavor, or sprinkled over green salads for color, visual impact, and a mild sweet flavor that complements bitter salad greens. These are the exact same caliber of edible flower garnishes that high-end restaurants pay premium prices for, available to you essentially for free during the spring bloom. The practical method is simple. Harvest fully open yellow flowers in the late morning. Hold the flower head and gently pull the yellow petals away from the green base with your fingers. The petals come away easily in small clusters. Discard the green base, which is bitter, and use only the yellow petals. The petals can be scattered fresh over green salads, mixed into pasta salads for color, or sprinkled over deviled eggs for a striking visual presentation. The petals also work beautifully in baked goods. Dandelion petal shortbread is a traditional spring recipe, where about half a cup of fresh petals is folded into a standard shortbread cookie dough. The petals add tiny golden specks throughout the baked cookies and contribute a subtle floral honey-like flavor. Dandelion petal cornbread is a similar traditional preparation, with petals folded into the batter just before baking. Both preparations were common in American farm kitchens during spring, when fresh dandelions were abundant and other fresh ingredients were limited. Use 3. Dandelion syrup and crispy fritters. These are the two most genuinely transformative uses of dandelion flowers in traditional American kitchen practice. They turn a simple yellow flower into something that resembles wildflower honey or a country fair indulgence. Dandelion syrup is sometimes called dandelion honey because the finished product genuinely tastes and looks remarkably similar to mild wildflower honey. The recipe is straightforward. Pick about 4 cups of fresh dandelion flowers and remove the green bases, keeping only the yellow petals. Place the petals in a pot with 4 cups of water and bring to a boil. Reduce the heat and simmer for 15 minutes. Remove from heat, cover, and let the petals steep in the water overnight at room temperature. The next morning, strain out the petals through cheesecloth, pressing gently to extract all the liquid. Return the strained liquid to the pot, add 4 cups of granulated sugar and the juice of 1 lemon, and simmer over medium-low heat for 30 to 45 minutes until the mixture thickens to a honey-like consistency. Pour into clean jars and refrigerate. It keeps for about 3 months and costs only $1 worth of sugar to make a jar that would easily cost $15 at a specialty market. Dandelion fritters are the country fair indulgence preparation, and the version that introduces most skeptics to the genuine deliciousness of the plant. Harvest about 20 fully open dandelion flowers with about an inch of stem still attached for handling. Rinse them gently in cool water and pat dry. Prepare a simple batter: 1 cup of all-purpose flour, 1 cup of milk or beer, 1 egg, and a pinch of salt. Whisk until smooth. Heat about ½ an inch of vegetable oil in a heavy skillet over medium heat. Hold each flower by the stem, dip the bloom into the batter to coat, and place gently in the hot oil with the yellow petals facing down. Fry for 1 to 2 minutes per side until golden brown. Drain on paper towels. Dust with powdered sugar for a sweet version, or sprinkle with sea salt for a savory version. The result is a crispy, golden flower that perfectly demonstrates the dandelion's place in traditional country cooking. Use 4. Traditional dandelion wine. And here is the first genuine surprise of this entire video. The traditional homemade wine that turned spring dandelion flowers into a light golden country wine in American kitchens for generations. It was a household staple from Reconstruction through the middle of the 20th century, particularly across the South and the Midwest. Ray Bradbury even titled one of his most famous novels, Dandelion Wine, after it. A few decades ago, almost every American grandmother knew how to make it, or at least knew someone who did. Today, it is a nearly lost art. Dandelion wine is genuinely worth making at least once. The finished wine has a light golden color, a delicate honey-like flavor with subtle herbal notes, and a seasonal connection to your own yard that no commercial vintage can match. Here is the full traditional recipe for 1 gallon of dandelion wine. Ingredients: 1 gallon of fresh dandelion flower petals, picked on a sunny morning. 1 gallon of water. 3 pounds of granulated sugar. The zest and juice of 2 lemons and 1 orange. 1 pound of raisins, to add necessary tannin and depth. 1 package of wine yeast. Lalvin 71B or D47 are ideal choices here. They preserve the delicate, sweet floral aromas much better than aggressive champagne yeasts. 1 teaspoon of yeast nutrient. The process. Day 1. Separate the yellow petals from the green bases. This is the most time-consuming part and takes about 2 to 3 hours for a full gallon, but the green parts must be excluded to avoid intense bitterness. Place the petals in a large food-grade bucket or stock pot. Pour 1 gallon of boiling water over them. Cover the container with a clean, breathable cloth and let it steep at room temperature for 48 hours, stirring once or twice a day. Day 3. Strain the infusion through cheesecloth, pressing gently to extract the liquid, and discard the spent petals. Return the liquid to the pot. Add the 3 pounds of sugar, the citrus zest and juice, and the raisins. Heat the mixture to about 110 degrees Fahrenheit, warm to the touch, not boiling, and stir until the sugar dissolves completely. Pour the warm mixture into a clean 1-gallon glass fermentation jug, a carboy, leaving about 2 inches of headspace. Once it cools to room temperature, 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit, add your wine yeast and yeast nutrient. Fit an airlock to the top of the jug. Days 3 through 14. Primary fermentation will begin within 24 hours and will bubble vigorously. After about 2 weeks, the active fermentation will slow significantly. Strain out the raisins and sediment by carefully siphoning the wine into a clean second jug, a process called racking. Reseal with the airlock. Days 14 through 60. The wine will continue to ferment slowly and clarify. Rack the wine again at the 30-day mark and again at the 60-day mark. By 60 days, the active bubbling should have completely stopped and the wine should look relatively clear. Bottling and aging. Siphon the wine into clean wine bottles, cork them, and store horizontally in a cool, dark place. The wine improves dramatically with aging. 6 months produces a noticeably better wine, but 1 full year produces something truly magnificent. Traditional winemakers would never dream of opening a bottle until at least 9 months after the spring harvest. Cost reality. The total cost of ingredients runs about $15 to $20 and yields 5 to 6 standard wine bottles. A comparable artisan botanical wine would run $25 to $40 per bottle. But the real value is the connection to a heritage of self-sufficiency. Make a single batch this spring, open the first bottle at Christmas, and you will understand why your great-grandmother cherished this plant. Use 5 young spring leaves in fresh salads. After all the elaborate preparation methods for flowers and roots, the leaves offer the most practical, day-to-day use. Fresh, tender greens that go directly into your salad bowl with no preparation beyond rinsing. The critical detail here is timing. Young dandelion leaves harvested in early spring, before the plant has produced flower buds, are tender and only mildly bitter, comparable to premium grocery store greens like arugula or radicchio. Older dandelion leaves harvested later in the season, after the plant has flowered, become significantly tougher and harsher. The window for tender raw leaves is generally late March through mid-May across most of the country. Identify the youngest leaves by looking at the center of the rosette. They are smaller, lighter green, and more tender than the larger, darker outer leaves. Pick only these inner leaves, leaving the outer ones behind. If you find the bitterness too strong for your palate, soak the harvested leaves in cold water with a splash of apple cider vinegar for 30 minutes before using. The mild acidic soak draws out the harsh bitter compounds, producing a remarkably mild, crisp salad green for absolutely zero cost. Use 6 mature leaves cooked as a southern pot green. Once dandelion leaves are past the tender spring stage, they are too tough for raw salad use, but they become genuinely useful as cooked greens. This traditional preparation turns mature leaves into a robust side dish, using the exact same cooking methods that have been applied to collard, mustard, and turnip greens for over 200 years. The cooking process transforms the harsh raw bitterness into a milder, earthy flavor reminiscent of cooked spinach with a slight herbal complexity. Harvest larger, mature leaves, 6 to 8 inches long, from your patch. Rinse them thoroughly in multiple changes of cool water to remove any soil or insect debris, then pat dry. The classic preparation uses bacon fat or olive oil. In a heavy skillet over medium heat, render 2 to 3 slices of bacon until crispy, or warm 3 tablespoons of olive oil for a vegetarian version. Remove the bacon and set aside. Add several cloves of finely chopped garlic to the pan and sauté for 30 seconds. Add the dandelion leaves and turn them to coat in the hot fat. Cover the pan, reduce heat to medium-low, and cook for 10 to 15 minutes until the leaves are tender. Season with salt, pepper, a splash of cider vinegar, and the crumbled bacon. Important traditional detail. If the leaves are exceptionally mature, parboil them first. Drop them into a pot of boiling salted water for 2 to 3 minutes. Drain immediately, rinse with cool water, and squeeze out the excess moisture before tossing them into the skillet with your garlic and bacon fat. This completely tames the bitterness, utilizing a technique your great-grandmother almost certainly used as the seasons shifted. Use 7 roasted dandelion root coffee. This traditional preparation turns the deep taproot of the dandelion into a rich, roasted, caffeine-free beverage. It was relied upon heavily during war rationing, the Great Depression, and any period when actual coffee was too expensive or hard to find. It shares many of the same rich flavor characteristics as roasted chicory root coffee, which is still celebrated in Louisiana culinary traditions today. Harvest dandelion roots in the fall or very early spring, when the plant has stored the most carbohydrates and the roots are at their largest. Use a long, narrow trowel or a soil knife to dig down alongside the taproot and lever it out. Remember, they can extend up to 18 inches deep, and you want as much of the root as possible. Wash the roots thoroughly under running water, scrubbing with a vegetable brush to remove all dirt. Chop the cleaned roots into pieces about 1/4 inch thick. Spread them on a baking sheet in a single layer and roast in a preheated 300 degrees Fahrenheit oven for 90 minutes to 2 hours, stirring every 20 minutes. Your kitchen will smell increasingly like a coffee shop as the roasting progresses. The roots are done when they break cleanly when bent and exhibit a deep, mahogany brown color throughout. Grind the roasted roots in a coffee grinder until they reach the consistency of coarse grounds. Store in an airtight container where it will keep its flavor for about 3 months. To brew, use 1 tablespoon of ground roasted root per cup of water and prepare it exactly as you would coffee. Drip, French press, or pour over all work beautifully. The finished beverage is earthy, slightly sweet, rich, and completely caffeine-free, making it a perfect, comforting evening drink. We are 7 uses in, and now we must talk about the remaining 4 points, which cover the vital logistics of safety and sustainable harvesting. Dandelions absorb chemicals and pollutants from their growing environment more efficiently than most other plants, which means harvesting from the wrong location can convert a safe traditional food into a health hazard. Rule 8. The 3 never harvest locations. First, any lawn or yard where chemical herbicides have been applied within the last 3 years. Modern lawn chemicals persist in the soil far longer than most homeowners realize, and the dandelions surviving there have concentrated those compounds into their systems. If you do not know the chemical history of a yard with absolute certainty, do not harvest from it. Second, anywhere within 50 feet of a busy road or highway. Vehicle exhaust deposits hydrocarbons, heavy metals, and other pollutants onto roadside soil. The dandelions blooming along a county highway look just as cheerful as the ones in your backyard, but they are heavily contaminated. Third, anywhere dogs urinate regularly. This is the silent contamination source most people forget. Avoid the front lawns near public sidewalks where neighborhood pets are walked daily. Stick to fenced back gardens or untouched wild areas. Rule 9. Optimal season, time, and tools. The timing and technique of your harvest dramatically affect the quality of the finished product. Seasonal alignment. Harvest young leaves in early spring, flowers at peak bloom in mid-spring, and roots in the late fall or very early winter when carbohydrate storage is at its peak. Daily alignment. Always harvest in the late morning between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. after the morning dew has completely evaporated but before the afternoon heat sets in. The afternoon heat wilts the plant and concentrates the bitter compounds. Tools. A simple kitchen knife and a basket are sufficient for leaves and flowers. For the deep taproots, you will want a sturdy, long-handled trowel or a Japanese hori-hori soil knife to avoid snapping the root underground. The moisture trick. If the weather has been dry, water your dandelion patch deeply 24 hours before you plan to harvest. The plants respond to deep watering by pulling up moisture, producing significantly softer, tender, and less bitter leaves. Rule 10. Sustainable patch management. Do not harvest every single dandelion plant in your yard. Treat your dandelions as a perennial resource to be managed across years, not a one-time foraging opportunity to be exploited. Leave at least half the healthy plants undisturbed so they can reseed themselves and maintain a robust population for the next spring season. Use 11. Traditional folk medicine and modern caveats. This brings us to our final points. The traditional folk medicine uses of the dandelion root and leaf, and the second genuine surprise of this video. Dandelion has been used in American folk medicine, European herbalism, and traditional Chinese medicine for centuries to support digestion and liver health. Before we go any further, an honest, common-sense disclaimer. I am not a medical doctor, nor am I licensed to provide medical advice. The information that follows is presented strictly for historical and cultural context regarding traditional practices, not as a recommendation for treating any specific medical condition. Anyone considering using dandelion preparations regularly, especially those with existing health conditions, those taking prescription medications, or those with allergies to the daisy family, should consult with a qualified healthcare provider first. With that said, let's look at what traditional knowledge held and what modern science is actually discovering. Dandelion leaf as a diuretic. In traditional American household medicine, dandelion leaf tea was used as a mild, natural diuretic to gently help with water retention and mild swelling in the ankles. It was often consumed as a spring tonic to help the body shed accumulated winter sluggishness. What modern research says, peer-reviewed science has actually validated this specific traditional use. Multiple clinical studies have shown a measurable, significant increase in urine output after the consumption of dandelion leaf extracts. Dandelion root for liver and digestion. Dandelion root tea, prepared by simmering chopped fresh or dried roots in water for 15 minutes, has been used for centuries as a liver tonic to support healthy liver function and gentle detoxification. It was also consumed about 30 minutes before heavy meals to stimulate stomach acid and bile production, aiding in the digestion of fats. What modern research says, research has confirmed that dandelion root contains high levels of inulin, a powerful prebiotic fiber that directly supports beneficial gut bacteria. Laboratory studies have also confirmed that dandelion preparations possess measurable, mild anti-inflammatory properties. While human clinical trials for liver detoxification are still limited, animal studies show promising support for healthy liver enzyme levels. What research has not confirmed? Dandelion is a wonderful supportive herb, but it is not a miracle cure for serious illnesses. It does not cure cancer, diabetes, or kidney disease, despite some of the exaggerated claims you might find in the deeper corners of the internet. Tell yourself the truth about what it can and cannot do. The traditional uses for mild daily health support are real, reasonable, and beautifully time-tested. 11 specific facts about the common dandelion growing in your yard right now. Some of them you may already have known. Some of them you may have heard about but never tried. And 2 of them, the homemade wine and the traditional folk medicine, are pieces of heritage that have been largely pushed aside in the modern era. All 11 of them connect you to a lineage of household self-sufficiency that has been almost entirely lost in the last 60 years. And all 11 of them are sitting in your yard right now waiting to be remembered. The dandelions you have spent 40 years trying to kill are not the enemy. They are food, medicine, beverage, garnish, syrup, fritters, wine, and tea, all packaged inside one incredibly resilient plant. The reason we have been taught to despise them is simply that the lawn care industry built itself on selling chemicals to eliminate them, and the health supplement industry built itself on selling expensive packaged versions of what your great-grandmother stepped over every day for free. The dandelion in your yard is genuinely one of the most useful plants an American gardener has access to. Use it with the respect it deserves, with the appropriate safety precautions, and with an honest acknowledgement of its capabilities. Drop a comment below telling me which of these uses you are going to try this season, because I read every comment and your experiences truly matter to me. Tell me if your own grandmother used to make dandelion wine or tea. Sharing those heritage stories is one of the best parts of this community. Subscribe to this channel for more peer-to-peer gardening content written specifically for women who have been tending the land for decades and deserve advice calibrated to their actual lives. The dandelion in your yard is yours. Use it the way your grandmother used to, and let it do what it has always done: